Kipling's two great imposters turned up at the Tour yesterday, one for each of the big names in British cycling. Difficult to treat them both the same, though.
Mark Cavendish relives his youth. He won here in 2008 and he's come back and he's won again. And that now is stage win number 17 in history.
Right down, Bradley.
Wiggins has gone down and he's involved in that crash somewhere. I can't see him on the ground there, but that is not too good for him. Oh dear me, this looks as if this is going to be the end of the Tour de France for Bradley Wiggins. He's in agony there.
Well, the pictures aren't good, Paul, are they? Bradley Wiggins has been taken to the side of the road there and the ambulance has been called up. It looks like the end of the line for Bradley. That is terrible.
So guys, it's over for Bradley, okay? He's got a broken collarbone, I think.
Hello, well, as we all know now, Sean Yates' initial diagnosis in the Sky Team car was correct, and Bradley Wiggins is already back at home in Manchester, probably getting stuck into the other Kipling. I should imagine the race diet will be on hold for a few weeks as he takes solace in friends, family and fridge. And that's the least he deserves, really. So disappointing that his tour should be over before he's even had the chance to test his fantastic form in the mountains. The first of which, incidentally, the tour arrives in today with the finish up here at the ski station of Superbest. Well, we checked in with Brad a little bit earlier by mobile phone to see how he was doing.
I'm still quite positive. I think, it's just one of those things. I think it comes with the territory in the Tour de France. You're constantly seeing crashes, especially in that first week. And actually, up till then, I'd been pretty lucky in avoiding most of the big ones that had happened. And, it was just unfortunate that that one got me and obviously put me out of the race. But just try and remain positive, get my body fixed and just look to the future. And, you always console yourself with the fact that there's always next year. And it's just one of those things, so...
Well, there is always next year, but on the incident itself, what can you tell us about it? What do you remember about it?
We were travelling about 65k an hour and the road just ever so slightly funneled down and there was just too many bodies abreast for the road size and the riders in front of me came together, started touching handlebars, a few went down and that was it. Then it caused a mass pile up as you saw and obviously I was in the middle of that. So we were fairly well positioned at that point. I think we were about 40 riders back, so we were kind of all jostling and that was it really. After that, I can't really recall too much after that as to what happened, how many went down. Obviously, I heard later on in the hospital that Cav won, so that was good. And the race goes on.
I'm sure you're getting some support from friends and family. It must have been awful for Kath. Was she watching live?
She was actually, yeah. She was hysterical, but and the kids were obviously hysterical as well because they didn't quite understand what had happened. My daughter wasn't too bothered because she's still only 4, and I spoke to her on the phone in the evening, and she told me actually that Bradley Wiggins had crashed and was out of the race because she doesn't associate me with being the same person as Bradley Wiggins she sees on the telly. So it's quite funny, really. It just, as I say, it does put things into perspective.
And an operation on the collarbone, or it's going to knit on its own?
Yes. Yeah, Monday morning I'll be having an operation to have it plated, so I've been in to see a specialist today who's going to sort that all out, so I should be all fixed by Monday night.
So while Brad faces an operation on Monday to put a plate in his collarbone, his Sky teammates, now leaderless of course as far as the race for the yellow jersey is concerned, have to regroup, reconfigure their ambitions for the Tour and press on. Ned was down at their team hotel this morning.
The rainforest might have to wait a little while longer for rescue. Last night Team Sky had more pressing concerns how to save their Tour, or rather how to reshape it after the shock of Wiggins' departure.
We'll take on a different attitude now, obviously, but we've got good quality bike rides on that bus, and even when it comes to the climbs, you've got Rigoberto Urán and Edvald the way he climbed through Dauphiné and that. So yeah, we're pretty optimistic we can get plenty out of this Tour. I'm pretty sure now they'll seize their opportunity.
With the shackles off, the strength of their team suddenly comes to the fore. In Rigoberto Urán, they have a rider who's been threatening a breakthrough win for a while, whilst Simon Gerrans, Juan Antonio Fletcher, and now, of course, Edvald Boasson-Hagen have all won stages of the Tour de France. And that's without even mentioning Geraint Thomas, who's been riding in the strongest form of his life.
It's been a great start to the Tour. We've like myself and Edvald and, Rigo got up there and, the team's just been working really well together. So it'd be a shame to really sort of fall away now, you know. I think we've got a great team, we just got to keep pushing now.
Of course, now everyone is going to try still to be as a team, to work together for achieving different goals, maybe not GC goals, but of course there are many stages, and there's a good bunch of riders together.
Yeah, I think it's just getting stuck in and treating each day as just a one day and just getting in the breaks and just being aggressive, really.
Now, today wouldn't have been the big test for Bradley in the mountains. It's the Massif Central we're in, not the Pyrenees. Still, it would have been an indication. 189 kilometres, setting out from Aigeronde and slowly ramping up as it goes. 2 fourth category climbs early on, with the day's intermediate sprints sandwiched between them. But all the interest really where it should be, towards the end of the day. There's the Col de la Croix-Saint-Robert at just over 1,450 metres. And then the final climb up over 1,200 metres to Superbès-Sancy. Now, one more big-name casualty to add to Bradley Wiggins overnight. Chris Horner actually didn't realise he'd finished yesterday's stage, rolling in with concussion, so just as well that he's not being allowed to start today's. 189 men then at the start this morning. They're still led by Toursoft, although Cadel Evans is the big favourite to finally take the 1 second he needs to relieve Tour of the yellow jersey today. Frank Schleck is still third, David Miller fourth, he's got a chance of the jersey. Andreas Klöden, who's been utterly invisible in this race, is fifth. Now, there were 9 men in the day's break, 1 Sky rider, so that's a morale boost. Xavier Zandillo was in there. A couple of Cofidis men, Julien Alvarez and Romain Zang. And with them were Rui Costa of Movistar, TJ Van Garderen from HTC High Road, a very promising climber, Christophe Riblon of AG Desert, and Adi Engels of Quickstep. So, after they took the first 9 places at the intermediate sprint, it was a race for 10th behind them. Philippe Gilbert, in the red, yellow and black of the Belgian champions jersey, got a lead out from his teammate and managed to hold off Jose Joaquin Rojas in the green jersey. His teammate Francisco Ventoso was third, which is to say 12th as far as points were concerned, and Mark Cavendish, who sat up in the end, 4th. So let's join commentary. The 9-man break is still out front, but their lead is coming down.
The summit of the climb starts here, and it is 6.2 kilometres away. It's 6.2k the climb. It takes up to 1,451 metres.
Yeah, it's the first serious climb of the Tour, the first time we get a chance to see who has got good climbing legs in the 2011 Tour. These riders, they will battle it out once we get to the steeper part of the climb. We're coming towards the end of the race, and there's the first move, the first acceleration coming, and it's from TJ Van Garderen.
Well, energy, this is the way we thought he would go, indeed, because we feel that he could win the stage if he can get away from this group. We knew he would attack it. Maybe this is the one they decided, because the race behind has started to close in rather quickly. He's completely split up this 9-man group, and slipping straight off the back now is Romain Zangler from the Cofidis squad. He couldn't answer that one. TJ Van Garderen has launched a move. He's got about 5 or 6 riders with him.
Well, 22 years of age. The gradient at the moment, this is probably the steeper part of the climb at 7.5% the gradient, but that was a fine acceleration. It will get a little steeper now as we start to turn left onto the real start of the climb proper. We're looking at TJ Van Garderen in second position now, Phil. He was the man who started the aggression. He's been looking to open up his winning account so far in the international sport this year, but he did finish 5th overall in the Amgen Tour of California.
Well, at the moment he's got 6 riders with him. They've got rid of Adi Engels there. I think also Zangler went as well. Somebody else has gone too. But this is the head of the field now, and Astana have taken over. They've just passed that same sign of 6.2 kilometres. And this is where I think we'll see them lift the pace. Well, it's tough. Xavier Zandillo is the rider in the middle trying to hang on. Reblon has now been dropped off the back here, and all of the pace is being done by this 22-year-old American TJ Van Garderen. Now you will probably see why he is being tipped as a future possible winner of the Tour de France. Now, what's happened to Sandy Cassar? Flat tyre?
Well, I'm not sure. He's not panicking at all. He's at the side of the road. There's a move coming from Astana, really trying to whip up the pace here, and nobody's responded at all in that group.
Now we've got 5 kilometres to climb here as Rui Costa starts to lift up the pace, but answering the pace, no problem at all. TJ Van Garderen, not quite so smooth for Cyril Gauthier in that green jersey as we switch back to the lone attacker. which could well be Thomas Vakus as he tries to come through. He's getting clear, there's no immediate reaction, and this hill now is a real tough climb to the summit. And look at this now. This is all or nothing for TJ Van Garderen today. The boys can't match his tempo and he's driving on. This is a terrific show of strength and indeed of courage for TJ Van Garderen, riding against the best bike riders in the world in his first Tour de France. He is on the steepest climb so far. Rui Costa, look at his face, is fighting to get back up here alongside with Cyril Gauthier. Well, take your hat off to Johnny Hoogland here, who is wearing the King of the Mountains polka dot jersey. He's pushing on too. He has realised that the leaders are watching one another and not attacking. I think Fletcher is the Sky rider who's got up behind him. So Hoogland is looking for a few points at the top while the others are just watching each other. And Sky trying to put matters to rights because of what happened to Bradley Wiggins so tragically yesterday in the Tour de France. They lost the leader yesterday, but they haven't lost the Tour de France as far as they are concerned. They've got two men out on the attack here today, and we're only 28 kilometres away. Well, at the moment, this is perfectly going the way of the race leader, Thor Hushovd, because if the leaders don't attack each other, Hushovd will happily ride along there and will conserve his race lead tonight on a day he thoroughly expected to lose it. HTC are blocking off at the front here. They won't react while they've got TJ Van Garderen up in front. I think we slipped slightly in the back bunch here as we pick up Mark Cavendish. His object today is just happily get to the finish.
Looking at these three riders, Phil, I have to say not one of them is a real threat to the overall lead of Thor Hushovd or to the inherited lead of Cadel Evans, if that's the way the race unfolds. TJ Van Garderen, who's on the front, has already lost himself more than 8 minutes, and the other two riders, Rui Costa and Cyril Gauthier, are over 4 minutes behind.
Now, Johnny Hoogland still doing all of the work here. Juan Antonio Fletcher of the professional Sky team is not helping him, or at least whenever the camera's gone there he isn't, and I would think I'd be inclined to try and get up to that leading group just now.
Quick glimpse there, the black and white jersey with the sunglasses in his helmet. That's Andy Schleck. The three riders chasing at around about 1 minute and 49 seconds are Ahmet Churuka, Paolo Tirolongo and Pierre Roland of Team Europcar, and they're then being chased by Johnny Hoogland and Juan Antonio Fletcher.
Now we're looking at Cyril Gauthier here, as he really does grimace with the pain of the day, but he has been dropped, and these two riders push on now. And this the Movistar rider is Rui Costa, and right in front and setting a tempo that now only one can follow is the 22-year-old TJ Van Garderen. He really is, because of the way the field is riding this, there is a real possibility now that he could cross the valley and get onto that final climb and be alone when he gets there.
Welcome back. Now, as you know, the Tour de France likes to revel in its former glories, revisiting the scenes of great victories and true champions. However, this is a place whose recent history it might like to forget. The last time the Tour came here, the stage was won by Riccardo Rico, the Italian climber, and at the time, it seemed like he was one of the most exciting young talents in cycling. It was a brutal stage which saw Stefan Schumacher relinquish his yellow jersey after a crash. Schumacher's Tour had just taken a turn for the worse, but his career was about to come to a shuddering halt. Shortly after the Tour ended, it was announced that he had tested positive for EPO after winning Stage 4's time trial. There was something not right going on that year. That sense of wonder at Rico's prowess curdled as the race went on. His form was a bit too emphatic, made doubly suspicious when 3 stages later in Bagnères de Bigorre he repeated his winning form. The next day, his teammate Leonardo Piepoli won in the Autocam, and Juan José Cobo, also of Saunier Duval, finished second. A day later, it was announced that he had become the 3rd rider on that year's Tour after Manuel Beltran and Moises Dueñas to test positive. He left the race, and although his teammates made the start of the stage, they never made it to the end, mysteriously disappearing. For Rico, a 2-year drugs ban was about to begin, but that wasn't the end of it. In August last year, he signed a contract with Vacances Soleil and attempted a comeback. That lasted until February this year, when he was admitted to hospital in a state of acute kidney failure. The results, it was established, of having transfused himself with poorly refrigerated blood. He has once again begun a suspension. Ricardo Rico's story, which appeared to be so beguiling 3 years ago here in Superbest, is actually one of the bleakest of recent cycling history, highlighting as it does the depth of the problem, the risks attached, and the need to keep the foot flat to the floor in the race against doping.
We're looking at the two leaders now, the survivors of the 9 riders. They've gone ahead and the time is climbing again. 2:29 now, back to the group containing the yellow jersey with a number of riders spread in between. 26 kilometres to go, and we're about a kilometre from the summit. We haven't seen the kilometre marker just yet. The attacks have all come from this young American 22-year-old TJ Van Garderen. He lives in Lucca in Tuscany, but he comes from Bosman in Montana, as the people there so often tell me. They're very proud of this man. 1 kilometre now to the summit. You can see the wind whipping across the Auvergne. There's the move we expected. It's come from Alexander Vinokourov, and now that might cause a reaction, because Vinokourov at the moment is only 32 seconds off the yellow jersey of Hushoff. So they've got to chase now.
They have to chase Alexander Vinokourov. He is a man for all seasons, and he's not scared at all of attacking from the second row. Look at them. They looked at him and said, oh, well, it hurts a little bit too much to go after that. But of course, the big reaction coming from Saxo Bank, that's the team of Alberto Contador. Well, Saxo Bank weren't able to bridge the gap there to Alexander Vinokourov, and so obviously now it's being left up to Anthony Charteau in that green jersey of Europcar. He's ridden the first part of the Tour de France field pretty much in the last 5 positions for the whole of the 700 miles that we've covered so far in the race, and now all of a sudden that we're getting into his terrain, the mountains, he's decided to go up to the front.
Well, here is Rui Costa, and he's now working as hard as he can with TJ Van Garderen, and they both will score points in the King of the Mountains competition. This rider's on a runaway now as he just blasts by Julien Elfares there from Cofidis and continues on a mission here. He is an opportunist cyclist, but boy, this man can really power when he breaks away from the field. This is a serious move, not just to win the stage now, but to become the next leader of the Tour de France. Once he's 31 seconds ahead of Hushoff, he's in yellow.
He's also feeling in great form this season with a 3rd place finish in the Dauphiné. Having been the leader, he's a kilometre away from the summit. When you take the handbook of how to ride professional races, when you give it to Alexander Vinokourov, he rips it up and throws it away, because he rides with feeling. He rides on guts and instinct.
Well, he's 1:55 behind the leaders, the placing of Vinokourov at the moment, so he's gone clear of the main field here. And look at that, TJ Van Garderen finished off what he started at the bottom, and that's take maximum points at the top of the Col de la Croix Saint-Robert.
Will get himself 5 points for going over the top of that climb, the first second category climb of the Tour de France this year. And Vinokourov, Phil, is picking these riders up one by one. He's just caught and passed the 2 Cofidis riders who were in the breakaway, Romain Zingel and Julien Elfares, and he's disposed of them, and he's now just about to make contact with Ahmet Chiruka in the orange jersey and Juan Antonio Fletcher.
He's got himself in some rhythm here now, a double take there as they looked across, and that was Pierre. I've lost his
Pierre
name.
Roland.
Pierre Roland, who's just looking to see who's coming up. He might have worked it out, though.
But Vino's also got a teammate in this group. Now, that was the move. That's why Paolo Tirolongo jumps off the front end of the pack, and he's a great climber, yes.
Sitting on the wheel of Hoogeland, and it looks like the weather forecast might not be wrong after all, because they're racing into the black clouds ahead there. The Norwegian flag flies for Thor Hushoff and for Boysenhagen at the moment. This is the peloton. There's a little move coming up. No. I just thought Andy Schleck is dead centre, the tall man in black there, but he's just watching everybody. There's no effort coming from this field.
That's Jürgen van den Broek over on the right-hand side. Behind him, it's Tony Martin. On the left-hand side, Alberto Contador looking quite comfortable out of the saddle, dancing on those pedals.
Well, they're continuing a fast tempo. All of the favourites are here in this group, the exception of Vinokourov, who has now gone clear of the field and is looking for the next move. He finished 16th overall last year in the Tour de France, but he has been as high as 5th overall and 3rd in 2003.
And the main field, the gap is 2 minutes and 2 seconds officially.
As we look at the peloton, the 2 leaders are speeding down the other side of what we're told is a difficult descent, but it's BMC now trying to put matters to rights here. Cadel Evans sits there in a 3rd wheel here. He wants Vinokourov back at least. A minute 55, 22 kilometres to go. The race is on fire now. 20 kilometres to go. The two riders looking at each other. They've got to work together for a little bit longer yet. They'll continue to descend. Before they start the climb, they will pass down through the little town of Besse-en-Saint-Anastase. And once through there, in fact, you're climbing through the town more or less, you will get onto the climb of Super-Besse up towards the finish. All that will happen in the last 7 kilometres of the day. Tirolongo here is also flying at the moment.
Juan Antonio Fletcher is the man in second position. Tirolongo has been told by Alexander Vinokourov to bury himself. Give everything you've got right now, because this is a good chance of a crack at the yellow jersey from the man from Astana and the man from Kazakhstan.
Well, he's going to give his all now, Tirolongo. He will do that until he can do it no more, and then he will drop off. So he's on to everything he's got left in those legs for the day. We're down the descent, basically. Running along the bottom. It looks as though there's help on the way for Van Garderen for the moment.
Yeah, this is Christophe Rablon, the rider from France, who won a big mountain stage last year in the Tour de France in the Pyrenees, and that was up to Axley Trois Domaines. And the rider coming along with him is the Europe car rider. That's Cyril Gauthier of France.
So we're shortly going to have 4 riders again, but we have seen that Gauthier and Rablon haven't got the power on the climb when it comes up to Van Garderen. So if it gets the climb to the finish again, Van Garderen is going to be, I think, the man dictating the pace. 20 kilometres to go for the chase now, as Paolo Tirolongo drives desperately to get his team leader across to the front of the race.
Well, it's 1 minute and 25 seconds to Tirolongo, Juan Antonio Fletcher and Alexander Vinokourov, and they've got a couple of riders just about to make contact with them also. So Team BMC, they're all over the front end, and there you can see Andy Schleck nice and comfortable there in the second row. Alongside him is his brother, and that, of course, is Frank Schleck. The yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd is still in this group. Sky teams are Juan Antonio Fletcher, Paolo Tirolongo we're looking at here, and just on the back, number 61, Alexander Vinokourov. At around about a further 10 seconds, they're being chased by Ahmet Kuchuruka, Pierre Roland and Johnny Hugelon. And the main field, which still contains the yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd, is 1 minute and 48 seconds back. Now it's up to BMC Racing, trying to pull it all back together. In control for Cadel Evans, who is in 4th position. But hats off to Thor Hushovd in the yellow. The man from Norway, they call him the God of Thunder, is still riding exceptionally well. Now, that's Xavier Zandio. I wonder, on the left-hand side, 119, I wonder if he knows his teammates there. And has he got anything left in his legs to try and stay in contact to give Juan Antonio Fletcher a little bit of a hand? You just saw that little hand signal there by Juan Antonio Fletcher. Come on, mate, this is a good possibility here. You may also just notice around the corner, you might have spotted the yellow car, the neutral service vehicle, and that should theoretically be behind the leading group, or a couple of riders caught halfway across the gap. So now it's up to Alexander Vinokourov. He's taken the right moment to hit them hard.
We're looking at Gauthier taking the pace through the 4 leaders, Costa, Rablon, Van Garderen and Gauthier.
I tell you what, Phil, I've got to take my hat off 15 times, I have to say, for Thor Hushovd, because he is still in that group with all the other big guns of the Tour de France. He's there with the Alberto Contadors, the Schlecks, the Evanses, and he's still riding confidently in the yellow jersey. And if he's got the legs on him this afternoon and this race all comes back together, I don't think they'll get rid of him on this final kicker.
Well, he's over the big one, and that's the one he would have feared, and he's still alongside all the men that matter. But he does have this additional problem now of Alexander Vinokourov, and they need to chase him down. At the moment, he is the race leader virtual on the road, and he's not going to be long before he gets across if he keeps this sort of pace up. He is slowly but surely reeling in those 4 front runners, and BMC are trying to keep their man Cadel Evans in the race just now.
Yes, the conductor of the orchestra, though, is in 3rd position. George Hincapie, he's dancing the tune, I think, for BMC Racing. One BMC Racing rider slipping backwards there because he's done a lot of pacemaking so far since the early part of the day with Brent Bookwalter, the American rider.
These riders all behind. The champion of France is there too, Sylvain Chavanel. They were going back to the leaders. Just look at these boys fly. They're all going gently downhill at the moment. Shortly it's going to kick up again. 16 kilometres, about 10 miles left to ride to the finish. 1 minute 35, the gap to the yellow. But remember, it's 47 seconds only now to Alexander Vinokourov's group. He is catching slowly but surely.
Well, Alexander Vinokourov has chosen this day as a day to quite possibly create a bit of a surprise in the Tour de France. We talked about Cadel Evans possibly inheriting the yellow jersey. We talked about the possibility of an attack coming from David Miller. But Alexander Vinokourov preempted all of that and went out with a very vicious attack.
Well, there he is. He's now taking charge himself at the front here, and Paolo Tirolongo, who's given his effort, is about to be uncoupled at the back, and the two Sky Riders have been picked up now. Fletcher and Zandio. Zandio in the break all day. Fletcher the fresher legs, hard to say that, as he comes up alongside Alexander Vinokourov, who's never worn the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. His best year finished third in 03. The year of disgrace was 2007, disqualified for blood doping, and he lost 2 stages as a result of that. Trying to put matters to right now.
They are going absolutely ballistic around these corners. They are going so much faster than the peloton, which is still being led by BMC Racing. I think very shortly Alexander Vinokourov is going to make the junction.
Kilometers to go to the finish now, just over 6 miles to the end. TJ Van Garderen is guarding his strength just at the moment, and there's 10 kilometers to go for the 3 chasers.
Yep, leading them through Alexander Vinokourov. He's got his teammate with him, Paolo Tirolongo, and just happy for the ride, I would say, currently is Juan Antonio Fletcher.
Juan Antonio Fletcher, the Spanish member of the Sky Pro team, trying to make some amends for the tragedy of yesterday when we lost Bradley Wiggins with his broken collarbone. It would be terrific if that man could finish off with a stage win today, and he's quite likely to if they catch that leading group.
Well, it's all a question. It's going to come down to a question of tactics on the run into the finish. You have to bear in mind that Christophe Reblon's won a stage in the Tour de France. He's a very good tactician, and he has matched all of the accelerations of the young American, and he's also put a couple of very stern attacks in himself. The gap is still locked in, though, Phil, at 30 seconds to the 3 chasers and about a minute to the main field.
These 4 are going onto the slopes a minute over the yellow jersey, and this looks like Da Costa has gone first of all. The gap is only 28 seconds back to Vinokourov. Now TJ Van Garderen is going to have to dig deep here to hold on to the Portuguese. This is the chase here as Vinokourov is trying now. They've got rid of Paolo Tirolongo. He has bluffed off the back. We only have 2 riders together now, and Juan Antonio Fletcher for the Sky team will soon have them in his sight. Van Garderen is having to work very hard here. Remember, he's going to ride into a headwind as they make the way up to the top of Superbest. Well, just 1 minute back to that same left-hand bend. Here's the front half of the peloton now. Riding, gripping that bottle with his teeth is Andy Schleck, twice a runner-up in the Tour de France. Many of these riders now are just wanting the race to end. Now Vinokourov is lifting it up again, but Fletcher's still got fight in those legs.
Well, you're looking there at 2 very experienced professional bike riders in the shape of Alexander Vinokourov and Juan Antonio Fletcher. But this man could create a bit of a surprise here this afternoon. Rui Costa looks over his shoulder. He knows he's got the gap, but now you've got to give it everything. You've got to push the pain barrier just a little bit further forward and try and keep in that depth.
Well, Rui Costa came here as winner of a small stage race in Spain in May, and so he's got good form. As he looked over his shoulder there to see who was coming, this big pack is getting smaller and smaller, and I'm not too sure the yellow jersey is still there, Torhushoff.
This is actually the flatter part of the climb in between the small town of Bes and the Super Bes at the top where the ski resort actually starts. But once he gets out of town, all of a sudden he's got this massive, great big wall in front of him. It's about 1.5 kilometers, and I would say it's very close to being 10 or 12%.
So as the Portuguese rider tries to pull off what would be the finest victory of his career, he's only won 9 races since he turned pro in 2007. Alexander Vinokourov, though, has dropped everybody, including Fletcher now, and he's looking to go for everything or nothing. He's continuing to ride alone across the gap.
Well, he's a strong man, Alexander Vinokourov. He's looking for 23 seconds on the lone leader, Rui Costa, halfway across the gap and still trying to get himself back into this race, TJ Van Garderen. But Alexander Vinokourov is riding himself quite possibly into a yellow jersey at the end of the day. And not many people would have expected that to be the story.
And the way that Torhushoff has fought yet again to retain yellow, I think I'll be rather sad if he loses it right now. And Robert Hessing here, number 41, this is a very serious situation because the Dutchman who certainly shouldn't be losing time on this climb, is in trouble here.
Bear in mind, Phil, he's also one of the riders who's sporting some very nasty injuries, but the team have decided to put a couple of riders back there alongside him to make sure he limits his losses, with the hope that as we go further down into the Tour de France, he can recover and get over his injuries. Andy Schleck is the rider out of the saddle there, sitting right on the wheel of Alberto Contador. Vinokourov now is pretty solidly in the yellow jersey if we were to stop the race as it is presently.
Well, Vinokourov has podiumed in the Tour de France, so you must consider this man as a potential favourite and not just pulling on the yellow jersey for one day. He's in the yellow position. He's got to cross the line 32 seconds in front of the yellow jersey bunch if he's going to be in yellow tonight, and he's just got one man in front of him. Even if he doesn't win the day, the clock will start on him for yellow. There you can see the road right ahead of him now, and it's the empty road up to the line today at Superbest, where we are sat. It's not raining very heavily where we are. It's raining quite heavily though where Alexander Vinokourov is. There's the lone leader from Portugal, Rui Costa, the Movistar team. The team that's had so much serious ill luck this year, with a serious injury to Juan Mauricio Soler, the Colombian on the squad, who crashed in the Tour of Switzerland, and the sad death of Xavier Tondo when he died when a garage door fell on his head before he went training. Unbelievable.
Well, Rui Costa now keeps looking over his shoulder. He's trying to judge the amount of effort that he has to put in to stay in front of this race.
They're no longer giving it, so yes, they are. 65 seconds is the spread across the field. So at the moment, there's no doubt that Alexander Vinokourov has a yellow jersey waiting for him at the finishing line, but will he win the day as well?
Well, Phil, by my quick calculation as well, TJ Van Garderen, although he's been left behind by Alexander Vinokourov, should be getting onto the podium today, because he will have the most points, I think, in the King of the Mountains classification.
And what a triumph that would be for the youngster from Montana. Well, it's all looking very, very good now for Rui Costa. I really thought that TJ had the master of this man on the previous climb, but it looks as though he saved the best till the last. He's 25 years of age, Costa, and there's the spread, and there's the crowd here now. Vinokourov trying to close that gap as they race man to man up towards the summit. The pace is being picked up here as well, and I've seen Contador. He's about 4 rides obscured at the moment, but he is also trying to get things whipped up in that chase behind. Well, as we come up 1 kilometre to go, now can Alexander Vinokourov close that gap, as Rui Costa has been in the lead for 185 kilometres at the moment. But you know, I know the camera shortens it on a climb, but you know, Thor Hushovd could save his yellow jersey today. There is the pack, and they've really lifted the tempo now.
Oh, what an unbelievable story, what an unbelievable battle here. Rui Costa just going under the Flamme Rouge, the red kite, 1,000 metres to go to the finish. Alexander Vinokourov is in the red zone, completely trying to find something special to try and nail down that last little gap, but also to try and conserve 31 seconds ahead of the main field and ahead of Cadel Evans.
I think Contador has got himself away from the front of the peloton here, so they're all going to react to this now. It's not Contador on the left of the road, it's one of his teammates who's tried to make a move.
That's Chris Anker Sorensen, the nodding style, and he's trying to set something up for Alberto Contador. Contador is there on the left-hand side, right on the wheel of Philippe Gilbert, and locked on his wheel is Andy Schleck, and locked in the main field is the yellow jersey Thor Hushovd.
Well, Thor Hushovd is sat there, and they're slowly but surely hauling back Alexander Vinokourov. This race will remain split by seconds tonight as Philippe Gilbert tries to get something going. Contador has got into his slipstream. Andy Schleck will not allow Contador a bike length. He's right with him, along with Cadel Evans. You could be looking at the podium in the Tour de France in a week and a half right there.
Philippe Gilbert, Phil, is looking to get rid of all of the sprinters and try and get himself a few more points in the green jersey points classification. He's got Tony Martin now up alongside him, like Alberto Contador. Is he going to think of having a little move? Look how attentive Andy Schleck is as Alberto Contador accelerates, and you can see Cadel Evans is right there too.
This is the tester now. The top 3 names of previous tours are riding right in the shadow of the 3-times champion. He's checked them both out. Also moving right up behind him is Jürgen van den Broek, and Gilbert says, I can do it just just as well as you can, and Philippe Gilbert jumps clear now, grits his teeth. I don't think he can reach the leaders. It is just a little hill too far for him, but there is the acceleration of the champion of Belgium.
Well, it's a little bit like the finish at the top of the Kouwberg in the Amstel Gold Race, which he won in the month of April. Alberto Contador goes again, and Andy Schleck right on his wheel, followed by Cadel Evans. Tony Martin will see that line of riders and accelerate onto the back of it. And watch out, Phil, for Frank Schleck, because he's looking very comfortable about 5th or 6th position. Damiano Cunego.
Cunego has launched his attack now. The boys have tamed Contador, and they're not going to attack him, but everybody else is having digs now. Another acceleration has gone. Could have been Tony Martin who's gone. Cadella's now gone, and look at Contador's got to react to that. I'm not sure Contador's as sharp as he appears here. He's having to work very hard. Andy Schleck is happy to just follow.
It's all pretty psychological for the moment, Phil, as Rui Costa now is inside of the last 350 metres. I'm looking down through the haze of the exhausts of the motorbikes there to see whether or not he's going to survive. He's done it.
It's all over. He punches the sky. The Portuguese rider gets the victory today. They don't get many in the Tour de France. Rui Costa has done it, but the clock will start, and Gilbert has gone up for 2nd place here, with the sprint very much on for 3rd place, and Cadel Evans has still got the fight to get over the line in 3rd place. Now, there won't be a time gap, and there won't be a change in the overall lead either, because Thor Hushovd, this incredible man, is still in yellow, and he's smiling. Gosh, I don't blame him.
All right, let's deal with the stage result first. Rui Costa finishing alone, 12 seconds ahead of Philippe Gilbert, who'd attacked off the chasing group. He had 3 seconds on Cadel Evans, but Evans couldn't quite open the gap that would have given him the 1 second he needed to take the yellow jersey. Behind Evans, it was Samuel Sanchez, Peter Velits, Dries Devenijns, Damiano Cunego and Alberto Contador. Andy Schleck was right behind Contador, where he'd been for the whole of the final climb. His brother was behind him. Sky's climber Rigoberto Urán was 11th. The GC contenders Van den Broek, Kleurden, Basso and Van der Velde took the next 4 spots, and in 16th place on the same time as Evans was Thor Hushovd. Also in that front group, Tom Danielson, Nicholas Roach of Ireland, Alexander Vinokourov after his late fade and Geraint Thomas. David Miller came in perfectly balanced, 26 seconds down in 26th. Levi Leipheimer lost 29 seconds. And Robert Hazing, still suffering from his stage 5 injuries, lost a minute 23. He was 56th. Mark Cavendish and most of the other sprinters finished in a huge autobus, 1 second shy of 20 minutes down on the time of the winner. And as Bradley Wiggins said today, if you think he and Sky have it tough, then a quick look at Rui Costa's Movistar team puts things into perspective. Losing their leader Xavier Tondo, who died in a freak accident this year, and then their climber Mauricio Soler, who's just recently out of a coma after a terrible crash. Now, we were expecting a trademark Alberto Contador attack on the final climb, but when it came, it didn't have the quality we associate with the brand. It certainly did nothing to interrupt the placid rhythm of Andy Schleck.
I felt actually pretty good today. Was not like a difficult stage, but still, you know, wet roads, a lot of wind, and you gotta pay attention and be 100% focused the whole way. And then in the end, I mean, it was not a surprise for me that Contador tries to attack. He needs to take every opportunity he gets and every stage. But again, it shows to me that he's nervous. I think, like I said, it wasn't a surprise that he attacked, but I think for him it was not a surprise that wasn't his wheel too.
Bien, ha sido unas sensaciones buenas. Cuando se ha movido por primera vez Gilbert, bueno, he ido con él, sabía que él estaba probando, al igual que yo, pues cuando he arrancado también estaba probando un poco para ver un poco cómo iba cada uno, y bueno, al final pues no ha habido diferencias. Lo que sí que se ve, pues bueno, que la gente está bastante justa y que estas primeras 9 etapas van a tener una mella importantísima para las etapas de montaña.
Really surprised by, I believe, Cadel. He can win this too. Van den Broek, I see really good. They have really good pedaling, and Frank is good. He's very in the shape of his life, and I believe it's going to be my main, without Frank, the main rivals for the GC.
He might have to revise that list to include a large Norwegian if things go on like this. No one believed Thor Hushovd would still be in the race lead tonight, including Thor Hushovd.
I did not believe that I could keep a yellow jersey up on top of Superbest, because only 1 second ahead of a rider like Cat 11's, it's not easy. So yeah, today again I surprised myself and really pushed the limits again.
It doesn't make sense to you. It's all wrong physiologically. You're not the right shape or anything. I mean, have you worked super hard on this?
Yeah, I worked super hard. I mean, in the last couple of years, I understood deep in my head that I cannot beat a rider like Cavendish in a flat sprint. So I prefer work more in the climbs to become a better climber. And this we see with when it's a hard finish, I'm often there, and also then I climb better in the normal hills.
It's brilliant to watch. Well done.
Thank you.
There are some changes at the top, not in the 1, 2, 3, which is still Usoft, Evans and Frank Schleck. But David Miller drops from 4th to 9th, so Andreas Kleurden, Jakob Fuglsang, Andy Schleck and Tony Martin all move up. Peter Velits makes his first appearance in the top 8. Philippe Gilbert is 10th and 2 places ahead of his teammate Jürgen van den Broek, but that'll change in the mountains. Ivan Basso is 13th, 1 place ahead of Nicholas Roach. Robert Hesink slips to 17th, 1:28 down now, although he does retain the white jersey. Alberto Contador is 20th, Geraint Thomas 35th, Mark Cavendish 113th and Ben Swift 118th. Philippe Gilbert's fighting second place was enough to put him back ahead on points in the fight for the green jersey. He has a 15-point lead over Jose Joaquin Rojas, with Mark Cavendish 34 points down in third. And finally, 22-year-old TJ Van Garderen faded in the end on his first Tour breakaway attempt, but he rode well enough to take the lead in the King of the Mountains competition. So, an interesting day. Chris, obviously we're not in the big mountains yet, but Alberto Contador needs all the time he can get back, so we expected him to put in a little punchy attack. It sort of came, but it wasn't massively impressive.
No, he was in the right place at the right time, but just didn't really have the legs to do anything with it. He had one half-hearted stab, but I think Evans looked the strongest of the real contenders, straight on his wheel. His team's not looking great either, so I think it's going to be quite interesting when we get to the mountains, because something's got to change drastically if he's going to defend that title.
Yeah, I mean, the big debate coming in was, do you ride the Giro or not? And as we've said before, not only he rode it, but 4 of his teammates did, and Bjarne Riis's team manager might be regretting that team selection.
Yeah, I mean, they did well in the team time trial, better than I would have thought. The amount of time they lost was about right, but since then, they've just not looked great. On the other hand, you've got the Leopard Trek team, looks extremely strong. Tough day for everybody today, though. They were out in the wind and chasing all day, so some sore legs.
Okay. Tough day today, 8 mountain climbs tomorrow, so although it's not an uphill finish, it's going to be another long day in the Massif Central for them on stage 9. We'll have a look at the route map in just a moment. First, though, you're running out of chances to enter this week's competition. Here's your chance to win a weekend for 2 in Paris to watch the finale of the 2011 Tour de France on the Champs-Élysées. The prize includes travel, 2 nights in a 4-star hotel and £500 spending money. Plus, if you enter any of our 3 competitions during this year's tour, you'll be entered into a second draw to win places for 2, you and a friend, on the Étape du Tour 2012, courtesy of Rafa. We also have an exclusive Rafa special edition Galibier jersey for 10 runners-up. Call 090 4959 6060. Calls cost no more than £1.03 from BT landlines. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text Paris to 83366. Text costs £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Red button viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter free at itv.com. Entrance must be 18 or over, and lines close at 4 p.m. on the 11th of July 2011. Entries made after closing time will not be counted but may still be charged. The winner of the Weekend in Paris prize will be drawn and contacted on the 14th of July. Right, let's take a look at day 2 in the Massif Central, 208 kilometres from Issoire to Saint-Flour, and it could be a profitable day for anybody prepared to gamble on an early attack like Rui Costa did today. In fact, with those 8 climbs on the route, there are more King of the Mountains points on offer than in the previous 8 stages combined. The Col du Pas de Pérol is the longest of them and the highest at nearly 1,600 metres. And by now it pretty much goes without saying on this tour that the day's finish is uphill. With the rest day coming up on Monday, an opportunist with the nerve to go out early and the legs to stay there could well take the polka dot jersey. We'll have stage 9 for you at the usual times, 2 o'clock in the afternoon for live coverage, 7 in the evening for the highlights. Well, we keep writing him off. Perhaps we should be writing in Norwegian because he's clearly not paying any attention. Tours off tomorrow will have spent a week in the yellow jersey. We know he's not going to wear it to Paris, or at least we assume so. But so far, it's Tours Tour.
Keep on moving.